I do want to apologize for the lack of an update in regards to the story. Although in retrospect I wasn't really intended to make another part of this, seeing as how everyone on the last article. But I guess I should update regardless about what happened after the events that transpired in the last article. For anybody wondering, yes, I'm fine. A bit shaken up from the sudden arrest, but other than that, I'm fine. As for my former friend, turns out he had actually killed someone during the process of him robbing the studio during a struggle trying to get out of the door. Apparently a security guard who had clocked in during his night shift heard my friend rummaging around in the vault and chased him down. Sadly, for the guard that is, during the struggle, James had punched the guy in the nose, causing him to fall on a guardrail, cracking his head open in the process. He died immediately. Hearing at what had been done to that poor man and the fact that James didn't even really give much of a crap about what had been done, only made me hate him even more. As for me, while I wasn't charged with anything, thank God, I was asked to testify against James for the crimes that he did commit, followed by giving an account on what I had seen in the box full of things that my former friend had stolen. Yes, that included the episode and what was on it in full detail. The case itself went on for about a week after the arrest before the judge concluded that James, due to a psych evaluation, was considered not guilty on the grounds of insanity. He was given 3 years at the local county asylum for his crimes. Yeah, the verdict alone was enough to piss me the hell off so much that I didn't even bother doing much of anything for a good week. I mean, why the hell was that? James murdered a guy, robbed a studio in the process, and nearly got me into trouble, and yet he got off with a light sentence? I mean, don't get me wrong, James knew what the hell he was doing when he robbed that place. So, I guess I can agree to in a small extent that he was crazy. However, I know him well enough that he wasn't insane in any form or in any way, especially given the fact he didn't have any kind of psychological problems. At least, none that I know of, that is. Even then, though, there really isn't much I can do about it. James is in a mental asylum, and unless something comes up that could add an additional charge to him, there's no way he's gonna stay there for good. I know that might sound rather harsh to say, and I'm not trying to insinuate that he shouldn't get some help, but with the way that he acts and everything, due to those completely and utterly ridiculous conspiracy theories that he believes, I think that there really isn't anything that'll help him snap out of this. But one thing is for sure. That day that asshole gets out of the asylum, I'm moving as far away from him as possibly as I can. Cost be damned. And that's really all I have to say in regards to the case and what happened after that. I mean, sure, I could talk about what I'm doing now, but it's the same old thing that I did before my arrest. I didn't lose my place, my job is still intact. Of course, that's not the main reason why I'm updating this post for all of you. The episode, I know, there are a lot of questions that you all likely have, and rest assured, I was actually able to find some answers. However, finding these answers was about as difficult as putting a string through the eye of a needle. I can't tell you how many phone calls, emails, and the like that I had to dish out to many different people who originally worked on the show to get some form of answers. Thankfully, though, Cam Clark, the voice actor for Freddy, actually agreed to a bit of an interview via Skype, although he wasn't able to stay for long due to him having a few side jobs that he needed to do back at the studio. This was a conversation that we had word for word. Me. Well, hello there, Cam. Thanks again for doing this at such a short notice. Cam. No problem. I like doing these things for people. Me. Well, that's good. So, anyway, I'm sure you're already familiar with what I... Basically, you're already familiar with what I'm here to talk to you about, right? Cam. Yeah, I know. Honestly, that episode was really something. Sucks that they didn't actually go through with it, though. Me. Alright, so my first question that I have for you is, well, was the episode script complete, or did it remain unfinished, like the version that I read? Cam. Well, yes and no. It's kind of difficult to say, because I know that the episode was, in a sense, finished, because I read the lines for the whole thing. However, I wasn't able to really read any more of the script after that. Me. Why is that? Cam. The script was taken from us about a week after my lines were done and then replaced afterwards with a version that you already know about. Which I guess I can't honestly complain about that since I don't have any control over anything anyway. Even then, I really did like the way that the new version of it was. Well, the old version. Although don't get me wrong, the new version of this episode was actually kinda nice. It reminded me about me. Me. That's true, but was it ever completed? Cam. Not sure about that one, but I highly doubt it. Me. One final question, Cam. Do you know anybody else that can help me find the full script? Cam. Actually, yeah. Steve O'Derrick might actually have a copy of it. I'll give you his number and you can call him up. Me. Thanks, I appreciate that. After our Skype call, Cam sent me O'Derrick's phone number, which I proceeded to type into my iPhone, only to get nothing. Well, technically it wasn't nothing, it was more of a message saying that this phone has been disconnected. Yeah, it wasn't really a pleasant moment for me, and because of that, I was back on the drawing board. Originally I was going to call up Clark and give him a bit of hell, but I didn't because it's very likely that he didn't know that O'Derrick had changed numbers. So, like I said before, I was back at the drawing board once again. So what I wound up doing next was something that, while it got me answers, it wasn't exactly something I could say I'm proud of doing. No, it wasn't anything illegal, God no, but it was kinda sketchy to say the least. What happened was that I had gotten in contact with someone at Nickelodeon Studios. Who it was, I don't know. But one thing was for sure. If he was going to give me any kind of info that I needed, I have to, in his words, pay him back. Not going into detail about what I did when I met up with them, but I certainly can say that the guy needed some new deodorant. That's for sure. After finally finishing up with his payment, he led me into the studio that he worked at, and then took me to Mr. O'Derrick himself in his office. He looked relatively confused as to why I was there, and was close to calling up security. That is until I started to spill my guts to him about everything that I had witnessed. Why I did it, I guess maybe it was the fact that I was just overwhelmed with everything that had transpired, and was just pretty much ready to lose my mind right then and there. To my shock, not only did he actually listen to what I had to say, but he seemed rather interested as well. Once I had finished what it was that I was saying, he gestured me to shut the door and take a seat, which I did without much hesitation. Our conversation went by as follows. "Oh, Derek, well, it seems as though you've went through a lot to get here. All for a script?" Me. "Yeah, pretty much, that's it." "Oh, Derek, I see." O'Derrick then opened up a drawer and then fished around it for a bit before pulling out a large script from his drawer and plopping it down on the table next to me. "O'Derrick, so this is what you were looking for this whole time." Me. "Well, yes and no. I mean, I came here to get some answers." "O'Derrick, well, consider this your answer. Full script right here. Take it, and please leave." Me. "Oh, so you just have some random copy of a script inside of your desk that you keep for occasions like this, all ready and waiting for the next person who asked for it?" "Oh, Derek, I've had that script for some time now. Honestly, it wouldn't be much of an issue to give it to you anyway." And with that, I thanked Mr. O'Derrick and then went back to my merrily way back home. Well, at least I had gotten my answers. Somewhat. When I had returned back to my home and settled in for the night, I took a few days to actually read the script and finally analyze everything in the whole script. And I have to admit, it was actually pretty good for the most part. But enough about that. I am sure I've wasted enough of your time as it is. I'll simply get into the part of the script that I wasn't able to complete in the last article. The scene would then fade out to show Otis and the others cleaning up the destroyed parts of the projector in the barn that had shown the pictures of the asylum. Everyone had a rather downtrodden face, as they either picked up large chunks or swept them into a large garbage bag. The scene was silent for the most part, until Abby decided to break the monotony of the silence and asked, So that's why Freddy acted the way that he did." Abby asked. Mm-hmm, Otis muttered, nodding as well in the process. Where is Freddy anyway? Peck asked as he tied the bag up and placed it next to another bag of a similar size and shape. He's in the basement. Again. He'd rather not be interrupted by anyone at the moment. Says he needs to clear his head, Otis said, before placing the broom and dustpan away off screen. The others looked at Otis for a bit, and then back down at the now collected garbage next to them. They all let out a small sigh before grabbing their respective garbage bags and making their way outside of the barn. The camera would then cut over to show Abby and Otis making their way towards a series of garbage cans on the right side of the barn before dumping the trash into them. Just as Abby lifted up the lid, she spoke. This must have been a horrible birthday for poor Freddy this year, Abby said softly. Well, compared to last year's party with the piranhas and the vegan tofu demon, I'd say that it certainly wasn't one of Freddy's best, Otis answered, closing the lid on top of the trash can. So how are we going to make it up to him? Abby asked once again. Otis stopped in his tracks and then placed a hoof on his chin as he attempted to think a bit. I don't know, Abby. If anything, I don't think Freddy really wants to do anything but cool off right now, Otis said. You got a good point there, Otis, but we really should do something to help cheer him up a bit, Abby answered back. Maybe on another day, Abby, but right now, this just isn't a good time, Otis responded. Abby then looked over at the basement and then back at Otis. How long has he been in there for anyway? Abby asked. 3 hours, at the most, Otis answered. With that, the scene would pan over back towards the basement where Freddy was at earlier in the episode, before finally cutting back into the basement and then panning over to show Freddy at the farthest corner of the darkened basement, softly crying as he held himself in his knees. Then, after a few moments of crying, he lifted up his head and wiped away the tears from his eyes and sniffled. I don't get it, Freddy began. I gave them a piece of my mind. I told them off, but why do I still feel like garbage? Freddy let out another sniffle before turning his head over to where the double doors, which led to the outside of the basement. I've been in this basement too long. I need some fresh air. Freddy sniffled once again, before getting up from his spot near the corner of the basement and making his way towards the basement entrance. The scene then cut out to show Freddy opening up the basement door, almost immediately shielding his eyes due to the sunlight hitting his, now bloodshot and tear-stained face. Freddy grunted a bit before blinking and taking in a deep breath of fresh air. It seemed, at least on the script, that Freddy's mood was starting to lighten up a bit. With a soft smile, the young ferret began to walk down towards the chicken coop. As he walked, he was greeted by his friend Peck, who immediately walked up towards him from off-screen. Hey, Freddy, Peck said in a rather disgruntled voice. Hey, Peck. Everything going fine? Freddy asked. I should be asking you that question, Peck said with a small chuckle. How are you doing? Freddy simply wiped his eyes a bit and answered with a simple sing-song. I'm doing all right, I guess. You sure, Freddy? You look like you've been crying. A lot, Peck answered as he pointed out Freddy's bloodshot eyes. Oh, yeah, that. Well, Freddy attempted to say, trying not to break down again. Peck noticed this and reached in and gave his friend a much-needed hug, which in turn calmed Freddy down once again. Sorry about that, Freddy. I still know you're going through a hard time at the moment, but if you ever need somebody to talk to, you know I'm here for you, buddy, Peck answered. Thanks, Peck. I'll keep that in mind, Freddy said before making his way back over towards the barnyard. The scene then cut to show Freddy slowly opening up the doorway to the barnyard and making his way into it as he did so. Upon entering, he let out a slight sigh before making his way over towards his and Peck's stall, the same one with the more modern equipment added, and then climbed up to his beanbag bed and fell asleep. The camera would then pan over towards the stall, before transitioning over to show Freddy waking up in the middle of the night with a small gasp. He immediately rubbed his head and then threw the blanket off of him. How long was I asleep for? Freddy asked in a rather groggy kind of way, before getting up and making his way out of the stall. The young ferret then proceeded to make his way over towards where the kitchen was at, but soon stopped when he saw Otis sitting at one of the tables next to the kitchen door. Otis saw him and then gestured for him to come and sit down next to him, to which he did. "Hey, Freddy, you're up pretty late," Otis said, before grabbing a milk bottle and handing it over to Freddy. "Thanks," Freddy said, opening up the bottle. "And yeah, I just got up." "I see. So, how you feeling?" Otis asked. Freddy frowned a bit and then began to chug the milk that he had received. "I'm feeling a little bit better, although everything still kind of bothers me, though," Freddy answered. "Your parents?" Otis asked. "Yeah," Freddy murmured, taking another swig from his milk. Otis simply stared at the ferret for a little while before speaking again. "Well, Freddy, I know that what your parents did to you was really messed up and wrong, but do you think you'll ever forgive them for what they did to you?" Otis asked. Freddy's head immediately jolted up towards Otis, and a small glare formed on his face in the process. "Why would I ever forgive them for the things that they put me through? If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be as messed up as I am now," Freddy growled. Otis was going to say something at this point, but stopped in the process. Freddy, seeing his reaction, immediately softened his look and then sighed. I'm sorry, Otis. I didn't mean to snap at you like that," Freddy said. Otis simply placed a hoof on Freddy's shoulder. "It's fine, Freddy. I shouldn't have said that anyway," Otis said once more, before saying, "However, it's entirely up to you, Freddy, whether or not you want to ever talk with them again." And with that, Otis got up from the chair that he was sitting on, and then made his way off screen, likely to go back to bed. And again, Freddy was alone. The camera cut to show Freddy sitting in the chair, sipping the last of his milk from his milk jug. He didn't really say anything in this scene, but judging from how the script played out, it's likely that he was doing some kind of deep thinking. This goes on for a few more scenes before finally cutting to show the next day. The scene is bright and sunny, like in the beginning of the episode. The scene then cuts once more to show Freddy opening the door to the barnyard, enjoying the morning air and taking in a deep breath. "Well, it's another day for me. Another adventure, another great day," Freddy said to himself before exiting the barnyard. Freddy then proceeded to start taking a nice long walk down different paths of the barnyard. With no dialogue is said, but the scene does transition over to show a series of places he walks passes. The silo, the chicken coop, the farmer's house, and then finally to Ben's hill, which he walks towards. Upon making it on the top of the hill, he slumps down on a log that was sitting right next to the tree. "Well, I pretty much did what I wanted to do today. I wonder what the others are doing today," Freddy asked himself. Whatever it is, it's better than having to deal with my Freddy stopped himself, and a serious expression took his face over once again. "I'm not going to think about them. They ruined my life, they screwed my head up enough. The very least I could do for myself is forget that they even remotely exist," Freddy whispered. With that said, Freddy then sat himself down on the log next to the tree and just sat there before a flashback sequence started playing in a black and white sequence in the background. The series of clips that were used mostly played out in short increments, but dealt with Freddy's past. The first clip that played out was a small clip showing Freddy's mother and father walking to their home with a small bundle in their hands. The scene cut to show a newborn Freddy staring up at his new parents, a small smile forming on his cute little face. "Oh, he's so precious," Margaret said. "He certainly is, Margaret dear. What should we name him?" Herb asked his wife as he stroked the small patch of fur on top of Freddy's head. "How about Frederick?" Margaret answered. Sounds good, but too smart. How about Freddy instead?" Herb answered. Margaret's face lit up like a light bulb, and with that she furiously nodded her head in agreement. The scene then transitioned back over to Freddy, who now looked a lot less upset than earlier. "Can't believe that I remember it that well. I was just a baby then." Freddy chuckled before another flashback transition played once more, in the same black and white style. In this scene, Freddy is trying to balance himself on a bicycle, but having a relatively hard time doing so. That is, until a pair of orange paws immediately grab onto his midsection, causing the young ferret to yelp a little. The camera then pans out to show Herb holding his son tightly, helping him balance himself on the bike. I don't know if I can do this right, Dad, Freddy says, rather nervously. Oh, come now, son. I did it with my father when I was younger. I'm sure that you'll be fine, Herb says, keeping his son balanced. Oh yeah, whatever happened to Grandpa Rye anyway? Young Freddy asked, looking up at his father. Freddy's father goes quiet for a moment before quickly attempting to change the subject. Well, how about that ride now? Freddy's father exclaims before running with the bicycle down the dirt road. However, before he could let Freddy go, Freddy somehow managed to get off the bike before the run, and Herb was simply rolling down the road rather uncontrollably with an empty bike seat in his paws. The scene then cut to show Margaret and the younger Freddy standing there, watching in slight horror before a crashing sound could be heard. Ow. I'm slightly okay, Herb calls out before the scene slowly transitions back to show Freddy still sitting down in the trunk, giggling at that memory. Yeah, Dad never really taught me how to ride a bike after that. Actually, I think he vowed never to ride a bike ever again, Freddy said to himself. It's then in the episode that Freddy stops. He simply sits there on the log, giggling at the thoughts. That is until a frown forms across the young ferret's face. Maybe I was a little bit hard on them yesterday. Maybe it might be better to just call them and... Freddy stopped talking and then comedically slapped himself. The next few scenes more or less then cut to show more of a good cop, bad cop kind of deal. What the heck are you saying, you idiot? Just because you've had some good times with them doesn't excuse what they did to you after that, Freddy growled before the scene cut to show another shot of him, this time more calm. But shouldn't I do something, or at least call them and apologize for the way I acted towards them? Freddy said again. No! After they ignored you, sent you off to that godforsaken asylum, and then never contacted you for 12 years, I say forget them! The scene then cut back to show Freddy letting out a humph, before making his way back to the barnyard in a complete huff. The scene then transitioned back to show Freddy in a stall, simply flipping through a large photo album. As he did so, Freddy began to sniffle, as tears began to pour down his face, and drip onto the various photos. The camera then switched to show Otis making his way down the stalls, before stopping when he heard Freddy crying. He slowly made his way over towards Freddy's stall before opening it and revealing the sobbing ferret. Freddy? You okay? Otis asked, concerned. I honestly don't know, Otis, Freddy began. I'm looking through my photo album and I can't stop thinking about my parents. Otis sat down next to Freddy and continued to listen to him. I know that it isn't healthy for me to do this, but I'm too conflicted with myself here. I don't know what to do. Do I call them up and apologize? Do I never call them again? What the heck should I do? Freddy said. Otis simply let out a before turning towards Freddy and saying, Well, Fredster, that's kind of a hard question to answer. I mean, personally, if I had parents like that, I'd cut them out entirely and never have anything to do with them again. However, I do also understand that you also want to apologize as well. Not having your parents in your life is a rather difficult one. But like I said yesterday night, Freddy, that's your own decision to make, Otis said. Freddy looked up at Otis, a half smile on his face. I don't know if that makes me feel better or if it makes me feel worse, Freddy answered bittersweetly. Otis was going to say something, but Freddy stopped him and answered, I know, Otis. I know. You don't need to say anything. This is the best advice that you can give, but I'll think it over and I'll see what I can do, Freddy said. Otis smiled at Freddy before walking out of the ferret's stall, leaving Freddy alone once again. The scene then panned over towards Freddy once more as he closed his eyes and sighed. I don't know what to do. I mean, I guess it wouldn't really hurt. I'll call them up once, but after that, I'm not gonna bother with them again, Freddy said, before pulling out a small phone from the side of his bed and dialing up the number. The scene simply faded out for a bit before immediately fading back to show Freddy's mother and father making their way down the large dirt path. The two looked rather nervous, but somewhat confident as well. Margaret was holding a large bag across her shoulder, which she carefully pressed down on to keep it from swaying too much. It didn't exactly take too long for them to finally reach their main destination, the barnyard. The two ferrets simply looked at each other before sighing and making their way towards the barn. I don't know about this. I don't know about this, Herb, Margaret said. Do you think he'll actually listen to us? Herb simply looked over at his wife and said, He deserves an explanation, Margaret. It's the very least that we can do. Whatever happens afterwards, we have to respect his decision. As they continued to walk, the scene then proceeded to pan over to show Otis looking at the two of them, before motioning them to follow him to the silo, which they did. Upon making their way towards it, Otis stopped them and then said, You listen, you two, and you need to listen well. Freddy called you up because he wants to talk. He's already told me about everything, and he's already planned this whole thing out. I need to warn you, though. If either of you yell at him, scream, or threaten him in any form or in any way, then the two of you will be thrown out and barred from the barnyard entirely. Not by him, but by me. I also have already talked with Freddy, and he agreed to also try and be civil with you two as well. I'm also going to be there as well to pretty much moderate everything so that nothing goes wrong. And so help me, if you two do anything to upset him any more than he has already been, you both will have a lot to pay for. The two ferrets simply nodded, and with that, Otis opened up the door to the silo and allowed the two to enter in the building before he himself entered as well. The scene then cut to show Freddy sitting down on a soft chair, the entire room illuminated by some lamps that were plugged into the wall. Freddy simply glanced over a little bit at the table that was in the middle of the place. However, he didn't even bother looking at his parents. He just sat there, looking away, not wanting to look at the couch in front of him. Freddy's parents simply sighed once more, and then made their way over towards the other seats that were on the opposite side of where Freddy was sitting at, and sat down upon them. Otis, seeing that everybody was more or less settled, grabbed a spare chair from the side of the wall, and then proceeded to sit down in the very middle of the group. There was a little bit of silence before Otis let out a for either one of the group to start their conversation, to which Freddy began. I see you two got my message. You know why I called, right? Freddy said. Yes, we do. And Freddy's father answered. Good. Honestly, originally, I didn't want to do this at first. But I'm willing to give you both another chance. Another chance to try and prove to me why I should even let you two back into my life again, Freddy said, sniffling slightly. Freddy, Herb began. Look, I get it. We're not perfect people. We made mistakes, but we did everything that we could to try and give you a good life. We raised you. We fed you. We took you to school every single day. We gave you love. But why? Why is it that you never told us about what happened to you back at school? Why did you never tell us about what you were going through? Herb said. I did. Neither of you listened to what I had to say. I told you what the other kids did to me there. You didn't even take the time to look down and listen to me. Even when I was beaten up, bruised, covered in blood by the people there who were supposed to be friends with me, beaten up repeatedly numerous times. You did nothing, Freddy said. I know, Freddy, Herb answered, completely ashamed of himself. We didn't listen to you. We know. We regret that every single day of our lives. But you please understand that your mother and I, we had to... Had to what? Freddy snapped. Work? Cook? Clean? All those excuses I've heard from you both year after year. Is that what you're gonna say to me? Herb was about to say something, but simply stopped speaking. He continued on that way. Freddy, honey, we know you're angry with us, but you must understand that we both had to do a lot of work each and every day just to make sure that you had a good life. We were both wrong to ignore you like that. We can admit to that being the truth. We should have done something to help you. We're so sorry, Margaret answered. Freddy growled a bit at those words and flinched when he heard his mother say, I'm sorry. I don't want to hear I'm sorry from either of you, Freddy softly said. Saying it isn't going to change. What happened to me isn't going to change those years of my life that suffered through torment. It's not going to change anything. There was another bit of silence in the room for the second time. That is, until the scene panned over back to Freddy as he spoke again. But all that aside, how about we address the elephant in the room? The asylum. My question to the both of you is why? Why did you send me to that place? What did I ever do to the both of you that made you hate me so much to throw me in a place like that? Make me rot away in a vile place for over a year of my life like that? Freddy nearly screamed as tears began to drip out of his eyes. Freddy, we didn't send you there, Herb answered. The scene cut back to Freddy, whose facial expressions immediately went from upset to completely shocked. What do you mean you didn't? Freddy began. I was at home when those other ferret people there took me away. Neither of you did anything to stop them. We did try and stop them, Freddy. We did everything that we could. We really tried to get you out of there. When we found out that your school was going to contact the asylum and have you admit it, we nearly lost our minds trying to stop anyone from taking you away from us. We had to spend a lot of time on the phone filling out paperwork and other things just to try and keep you away from there, to keep you from us. We were willing to do anything, but it didn't work. And when they came to take you, Freddy, we wanted to fight them. We wanted to push them out. Margaret was thinking about sitting there and bashing in their heads with a metal frying pan, but we couldn't do anything, as we know it would only make your situation worse, Herb answered. Freddy, not believing a single word that they were saying, simply sneered at the two. I don't believe a single word coming out of your muzzles, Freddy began. Unless you got some kind of evidence and proof to back up those claims. I'm not buying it. And I'm going to take it as another lie. Another lie that you keep telling me. Freddy, please. We understand, Freddy, Margaret began. That's why I brought these with me. Margaret, as if on cue, immediately opened up the bag that was near her and began to pull out a stack of papers and handed them over towards Otis, who in turn handed it over towards her son, who began reading them. As he quietly read the pages, his eyes widened once more before his face fell, and a waterfall of tears began to form in his eyes. Soon his entire body began to shake, and he dropped the papers on the ground. You see, Freddy, we told you. We would never, ever send you to a place like that. Sure, you weren't the smartest ferret in the world, but you are our son, and we loved you. We would never, ever send you to a horrible place like that. We were tied, Freddy. There wasn't anything that we could do. We couldn't even keep in contact with you. Every time we wrote a letter to you, we couldn't even send anything. It would always come back. And we never received anything either. All those papers as well held all the letters we wrote to you. But we weren't able to send you. Margaret said, You didn't send me there, Freddy said, stuttering. Both of Freddy's parents simply shook their heads no at this. Freddy continued to shake, and then immediately looked at the evidence once more, and then again, and then again, and then again, before dropping them all down, running over towards his parents, and immediately bear-hugging the both of them, while sobbing profusely. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Freddy said repeatedly in a soft sob. Both of Freddy's parents caressed him gently, and soon they all started to cry. You don't need to apologize, Freddy. You don't need to as well. You don't need to. We deserved it. We treated you badly. We ignored you. And we didn't fight hard enough to get you out of that horrible place. We're sorry, Freddy. We wish we could take it back. We wish we could give you back your childhood again. We truly do. But we can't. But I promise you, Freddy, your mother and I will do everything in our power to make it up to you if you want it. Even if you want us to leave, we'll leave. We'll never say or contact again. We promise you from the bottom of our hearts that we will do everything that we can. If you want us to go, then we will, Herb said, caressing his son. No! Freddy yelled out. No! I don't want either of you to go. I accept your apology, and I hope that the both of you can forgive me for the way that I acted to you both, Freddy said, wiping his eyes. Freddy, you don't need to ask us again. We forgive you, we do. And we hope you can forgive us as well, Margaret said, giving her son a kiss on the head. They all immediately group-hugged each other. Even Otis himself started to cry a bit, seeing the beautiful sight. After a few moments, every one of the Ferret family immediately got back up from where they were sitting at, wiped away the tears, and proceeded to give each other another hug. Otis, now wiping some of the tears out of his eyes, says, Well, I didn't think I'd be crying a lot today, but... So you're all cool with each other now? All three of the Ferret family members looked at each other and smiled. It'll take a good bit of us to make it up to our wonderful son here, Herb said. But we're going to do everything that we possibly can. And I think the best way to start this off is how about we go and get ourselves some ice cream? Does that sound good, buddy? Herb said to his father. You bet it does, Dad. All this crying made me... I could really use something sweet, Freddy said. Well, come on. I'll take you all down to the ice cream parlor in town. They make the best ice cream. My treat, Otis said. The other ferrets, as well as Otis, immediately walked out of the silo and began making their way over towards the tractor. And not before disguising themselves, before immediately getting back onto the tractor and then driving themselves away downtown. And with that, the scene panned out of the barnyard and then faded out to black. And with that, the episode ended. Well, I was actually rather satisfied by what I had read. There was a great ending, and honestly, the entire episode was, well, mixed together quite well. It was still rather disappointing that it wasn't an actual episode shown on Nick, although I guess it is understandable that as the content was rather dark, even for Nick standards. As for me, well, again, like I've said before, I'm doing fine. I still have the script, but I doubt that I'll ever be sharing it. And honestly, that's probably how it's just going to say. If anything, the last thing I want is to get in any more kind of trouble than what I've already went through. And with that said, I do thank you all for hearing me out in this long post. It does feel good that I actually been able to get this off my chest in a very healthy way. And thinking about it now, even reading the script over and over again, maybe I really shouldn't give up on my friend. Maybe the best thing I can do is just try and be as supportive as I can. And hopefully, hope and pray that he's getting the help that he needs. Whichever way possible.
In fear and surprise, as your eyes widen, your mouth goes dry with each battered breath. You try to scream, your mind begs to leave, glued to your computer screen. The killers they slash, the tapes burn and crash. The cartridge you bought will be your final haunt. The rituals of hate will seal your fate. The tears you shed will be from the fear-gripping horror-driven nightmarish gore-filled, terrorizing, hateful, burning, violent, rage-inducing, knife-slashing, blood-splattering, silent screams. Only time will tell if you will escape this online hell. Your horror-filled obsessions will come with its own regressions. Your pathetic screams will not be heeded in any way, because your nightmares will come at any day.